Thank
no
you so
problem.
much for doing this.
There.
Okay. Well,
right.
Let's see. Maybe I'll just get started with saying, okay, I'm just so grateful for Andrea to be doing this interview. Thank you so much, because I know you're extremely busy with all the wonderful things you're doing right now. And I think I'll just go ahead and get started by explaining to Andrea why I'm so, why I just love her so much.
Thank you.
Why she's so important in my own journey. And I don't know that I've really told Andrea the whole story, but I discovered Andrea's original website back in 2008 when you had an actual physical creativity spa, which was a house, right? Were you actually living in that house?
It was a duplex, so I had two suites. So I lived in one suite, and the other was the creativity spa.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
But I was very inspired by that, because I was, at that time, I was planning my very first creative women's retreat, and I was looking for workshop leaders, but I was also, at the time, I was employed I kind of had a creative job at this big corporate place, and I wasn't really exactly happy where I was. But I, like everyone else, I just, you stay where you're comfortable, and you're just like, well, it's not that bad, I'm, at least I'm getting paid well, and, they're taking good care of me. And at that time, when I discovered Andrea's work, I was really at a point where I was searching for some creative inspiration. And I also, when I discovered her creativity spa, and I saw it was just such a beautiful little place that she had set up, and it seemed so, there's just so much creativity there, and I just knew that the people who were there were enjoying it, and they felt inspired, and I thought, you know what, it would be so awesome to have a place like that where I work. And I thought, well, how cool, because we have this huge building, and people, we had little pockets of rooms here and there that were not being used for anything. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could set up our own little creativity spa here at work, So I had this going through my mind, and I just had this idea, and I thought, oh, this would be so exciting. And then a few months later, I got laid off, which I thought was very interesting, because here I was trying to really, I was trying to bring my creative inspiration, everything that was outside of work that was inspiring me. And I felt like, and here, I just got this cosmic message that, well, that's really nice that you're trying to make yourself happy at work, but maybe you're not supposed to be there, So that started my journey, and that started so Andrea was just and I don't know if Andrea's checked her email very recently, but I sent you,
oh yeah, I did see it.
Yeah. I found the actual, it's called a hot sheet or a spreadsheet that I made up that I had, was going to share and show that this is what I wanted to do, something similar, at my workplace. And I knew I had it somewhere, so I'm just really happy that I found it. But anyway, so that is how I found Andrea's work originally. And of course, after I was released from my job, I have since been following Andrea's work and watching her magical journey since then. So she's really done so much. She's gone from having this physical place where she had an actual creativity spa to having an online business where she has a virtual creativity spa. And what I was hoping Andrea could do is kind of just go through that journey a little bit. I know it's a lot to cover, but I know if it's possible for her to just share that, in a nutshell with us, there's no such nutshell.
Sure.
There's no nutshell.
Yeah. Well,
we'll have to go outside the nut probably. But to just share that wonderful journey with us,
sure.
so we can see, what your motivators were also through that journey. It takes a lot to not give up, and that's another thing I'd like you to maybe go into a little bit, because it takes a lot. I know you've been through a lot. I know, because I've been following your blog, and you've gone through a lot of, just like everyone, there are emotional ups and downs, and sometimes you might feel like, oh man, what am I doing? But you've persevered, and I would love to go through that journey with you.
Sure.
So, thank you again, Andrea.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me here. This is really great. And I also, I love what you're doing. And I just think, gosh, like the way each one of us, when we bring our dreams to life, it inspires so many other people to do the same too. So I know that you're out there inspiring tons of other people, which is amazing. So yeah, as you said, when you found me in 2008, so that's a little while ago. And I had the creativity spa. Circumstances in my life led me to own this duplex, and I didn't feel good about, or I wasn't ready to rent out that space and to have other people living there. I had started doing my workshops in my own home, so I was doing them in my living room. And having very small workshops, maybe 2 or 3 people at each one, which was really great. It was a really beautiful way for me to start experimenting with what I wanted to do. And then, I created that creativity spa, which was actually inspired by an actual spa that I would go to pretty regularly. And it was just like this sort of sanctuary of peacefulness and rejuvenation. And I thought, I want to do this for creativity. Right, so to bring all of those good feelings of the spa, but also make it be about inspiration and about growing your creative dreams. So I made that space so that I could experiment more and start to grow my workshops. That was my intention. I was working part-time at that time. I had a stupid job in a cubicle. So, and I was really happy that I only had to work part-time, that it was a pretty good paying job, and I was, doing well enough that I could have that space and time to experiment with this stuff that I really, really wanted to figure out how to do. But at that time, a large workshop for me was 12 people, and 12 people at a creativity workshop doesn't actually pay the bills. Doesn't actually even pay for the space, right? So I was glad that at least I could, and I was putting a lot of money and time and like pretty much everything I had into doing this. And I was very happy to do that because I just loved what I was doing. It felt so good. I loved the way that it was impacting and inspiring the participants and how they were learning about their creativity, and not just in terms of, you totally know this, Wendy, but when I talk about creativity, it's not just about making art, but it's about how you create your life. So, and it's about like living your purpose, doing what you're here to do and creating what you're here to create in the world. So this is like super important to me. So yeah, so I just loved all of that. The workshops did, over the years, it took some time. I think when you found me in 2008, I had already been doing it for a while. So it was a really, really slow process. And at that time, I wasn't thinking about doing that as my full-time thing because I needed my job to pay for the workshops, right? The workshops did over time and over the years, though, they did start to grow. I ended up doing a workshop for the Canadian New Thought Conference. So it's a conference. New Thought is a spiritual philosophy about kind of manifesting things through conscious intention. We'll say kind of like law of attraction type stuff. And so I was doing a workshop there at the Canadian conference. There were people from all across the country. There were Americans there also. It was a big thing. I did this workshop with 65 people, and I had live music. I had sound people. It was just this really beautiful experience. And at that point, I finished that workshop, and I was like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to do this for real, and I am ready to take this seriously as my work. And so that's, I mean, and, you know, that's like 15 years of creative stuff to get to that point. From there, that would happen very quickly. I gave myself 6 months to leave my job and have my workshops be supporting me. And at that, I had already started blogging, and I was trying to figure out how I would do that online, but I wasn't quite sure yet. And so I gave myself 6 months to figure that out. And I wouldn't recommend pushing yourself in that way unless it really feels right. And as I said, 15 years of working up to that, and then this like little leap at the end. And so it was a big learning curve for figuring out how to bring it all online. That was two years ago that I made that decision, just over 2 years ago. I've learned a lot since then. Holy moly, like the last 2 years have been like kind of supercharged. Learning and figuring things out and like taking big risks and like not having everything not go the way I want it to, but like learning from that and like trying again. I'm so much more comfortable now with the way of doing things online, like speaking to people through video and like finding ways to have that really juicy creative connection with people even when we're not in the same room together. I think there's a lot of potential with online education. I'm really excited about where it's going. So that's the nutshell version.
Oh, wow, yeah. I can't believe you were actually able to put it into a nutshell. That's great. That's wonderful. So what do you think is your the one thing that drives you, or that gets you past those? Maybe it's more than one thing, you know. But what is that motivation that gets you past those moments of oh my gosh, starting to maybe get into some self-doubt, or, those inner critics, that might start attacking you. Yeah. What gets you past that?
It's for me, it's purpose. So it's like I have a really strong belief that this is my purpose in a very spiritual sense, that this is what I'm here to do. And that if I think about doing something else, it's like kind of wasting my life. And I think about what a miracle it is that we have this planet and that human life has evolved the way it has, that like a gazillion miracles happened for us to be able to be speaking to each other right now. And it feels like my life is such an incredible miracle just that I'm alive. I don't want to spend it doing shit I don't want to do. That's how I think about it when I think about like getting some kind of job just so I can feel that like security, which I don't think is actually all as secure as we think it is. So it's really that sense of I have a mission, I have things I'm here to do, and I have to do them. And then underneath that trust in purpose is trust in life and in spirit, that if I'm here with a purpose, I'm going to be supported in that, even when I don't know how. So things work out in really, really funny ways as long as I keep remembering to trust that. And it's not that I never have doubt. I have a lot of doubt and I have a lot of inner critics. It's just always like taking the time to remember like what's really important here.
And that's another thing that I love about you is in your blogs, you often express those things, those moments of self-doubt, those inner critic attacks, and you really, that I think is helpful for those of, who read your blog and who follow you, because we can see, well, look at all these wonderful, beautiful things that Andrea is doing. If you were all,
it's easy.
Fluffy clouds and sunshine all the time, we'd be like, well, why can't I be like that, But then we get to see, oh, she is like me. Oh, she does have doubts like me, So, it must be normal for me to have these feelings. And what's important is to not, just let them take over you and let them take over your dreams and really, believe too much in the inner critics and forget about the dream and your purpose. And one thing I'm wondering is, seems like it's when you talk about the security of a job, we I feel like the new security that happens with the type of work, the purpose work, that we're doing, that becomes more of a security, or not more, but that becomes the new security. Once you actually believe in that purpose and really, really believe that it is your purpose, that becomes the new security that replaces the old security that you might have had with the other job. You meaning me and everyone else, not just you. That seems to me, because we way too often we do think, well, I'm not going to have security unless I have a regular job like everybody else, that a paycheck that I can depend on every week or every 2 weeks or every month, that keeps people from so many times from pursuing their dreams or what they really feel driven to do, their creative call, So I think that's an interesting thing to think about.
Another piece of that for me, I found, was that there's a lot of security in me learning how to sell my work and learning about business, and that, from in very practical ways, because I did along the course of creating the online business, I did take a lot of classes. I worked with business and marketing coaches, and there's something also just in a really practical way that feels secure about, like, I know how to make money. I know how to put something out there in such a way that it will sell. Whereas, those tiny workshops I was doing before, I didn't know how to sell them. And I was just really lucky that I had a lot of people who trusted my vision and would come to them. But it feels very good to know that I can, and if something were to happen here, I would know how to recover from it and I could create something else. And just kind of, stretching your money-making muscles.
That's a very good point, because I know a lot of people that are like me right now who are kind of at the beginning of their journey, who really want to follow their dreams, but they're not ready to quit that job yet. They're not ready to delve into it yet, and that is a very good point, because it's important to learn to really learn about marketing, really stretch those muscles, go beyond your comfort zone. Yeah. That's one thing I'm starting to learn. It's like you got to go beyond your comfort zone, and okay, how where. If I really want this to be my job, then what do I have to do to be successful with this, really? So that's good. That's a good point that you just made. Thank you. Yeah. Well, let's see. What else did I have? Let's see. Okay, Well, I did. Let's see. I don't want to. I guess I feel I don't want to stress too much the whole, quitting your job thing. But it is an interesting subject. I did have you went into this a little bit of like what. But I'm thinking, well, what is the one or the handful of things that really drove you to make that decision, that hard decision to quit that day job and say, okay, I'm going to do this full time. You did go into that a little bit, like wondering what was your epiphany that really drove that decision?
Well, I just felt ready.
Okay.
In that moment, and because I'd had this sort of really magical experience with this big workshop that went so well. But on the other hand, like I'd always wanted to do my creative work as my full-time job. I think when I was starting with that creative spa, I think at that point I had kind of given up, because I had like my whole 20s, like as soon as I finished university and I studied fashion design, I wanted to be an artist. I was doing textile art and costume design and all kinds of art, and just I was always struggling very much. So, and I was always trying to work as little as possible, so I had as much time as I could for my art. So I was the total starving artist for a long time. And so I always had this strong sense that I wanted to be creative as my full-time work. So that was like an underlying thing that was always there. At the time, like the part-time job that I had that paid really well was a really good job. I was very lucky to have that. And so that's where I kind of spent more time also taking classes. That's where I became a spiritual teacher and counselor and got my accreditation in that. So I was working on more the inner part of becoming the me who was capable of trusting myself enough and doing the work to actually make my dreams happen. So I don't think it's that quitting your job is really different from any other dream that you bring to life. It's whatever it is there that feels scary for you, that's the thing that needs to be worked on. And then more than anything, it's about becoming from the inside out the you who can do it. So like the you who runs a successful business, the you who trusts herself to make that decision to leave. Because it's scary. Even though I had worked on it for so long, even though I felt so sure, I was still terrified. You can't wait till you're not terrified. Also, don't just leap right now feeling unready. Like there's a lot of balance to find there. That's another thing. That's another reason why I talk about the fears and the inner critics all the time, because there's some ideas out there I think that people have that they have to wait for it to be right, or somehow pieces will fall into place and they won't have to take a big risk and it'll just be there for them, and that if they haven't done it yet, it's because it's not time yet, and sort of this way of waiting for the external stuff to shift first, and it's the internal stuff that has to shift first. So it's a really, I know that, and that's a hard answer, and it's a hard thing to do.
No, that's great. I'm starting to see even more clearly. Another thing I think that's very interesting to me is, I think Andrea and I are the same age. Like, you're 38, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
And the reason why that interests me is because she's like where I want to be, you know. And I'm like, well, gee, why am I not there yet, you know? And I'm realizing I'm starting to realize you're one of those brave people who that I knew some of those people when I was in college, you know, who were the fine artists who were going to follow their fine arts, you know, call, and were going to be fine artists, you know. And I took the avenue of, you know, being an illustrator because I thought, well, maybe I have a chance of actually getting a job, you know, as an illustrator. I was thinking very practically, and I wanted that security, you know. I was like, I don't want to be a freelancer, you know. I don't want this, I don't want that, because I want to know I'm getting that paycheck. And that's what was important to me. And that's totally fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying, because there are people here, you know, who might be listening to this later on who think, well, what's wrong with me having a full-time job? There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. You know, but I just realized after 10 and a half years with a job that didn't really build me up at all, it really just after a long time, I just felt like it was really prohibitive. It wasn't the job. And I have to teach them, like, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to blame the job. You know, I was the one who stayed at that job. You know, even when I wasn't happy, it was my choice to stay in that job for 10 and a half years. And it wasn't until 2008, you know, when around the time when I was, you know, discovering Andrea's work, and I was discovering a lot of stuff about myself, because I was exploring a lot of different people. You know, I found Sark and, you know, Marnie Makrodakis and Artelaland and all those wonderful places too, and I just found this community and this world that was out there that I thought, oh my gosh, I'm inspired by all this, and I want to be a part of it, you know. But I thought at the beginning there, I thought, oh, you know, what can I do? I really want to have this kind of inspiration in my life and be a part of it. And just bit by bit, since 2008, I've been, you know, dipping my feet here and there because that's when I began my journey. It was in 2008 of just discovering all of this and discovering that this inspiration and creativity was out there. And it was, I had been involved in the artist way for a while, and was ready for it. I was finally ready for it. So I thank very much people like Andrea who are out there, who are out there to inspire the rest of us, and to inspire people like me to begin their own journeys, and see how far we can go, because it's wonderful. Again, I'm sorry, I'm like totally like showering you, Andrea, with all this love, but I really am appreciative to see someone like you you're doing it. You're living the dream, and you inspire so many people, including myself, and I just thank you for it.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, one of the biggest rewards of this is getting to meet people like you and people all over the place who are, following their own paths. Right, and learning to, because like you said, it's not wrong that you made that decision to have the secure job, and it's not wrong that I decided to not have a job for so long. But then when I got one, that was the best thing that could have happened to me, to actually have financial stability for a little while. That was very helpful.
It was extremely funny. My best friend in Cleveland, she and I had this joke where. I think a year after I got laid off, she was laid off from her job, and she had a pretty good job too. And she said she responded how she was excited. She was like, "It's like, guess what? Yay! I finally got laid off." And I was like, "Yay, good job!" We're quite a pair. But now I have a new job. I've got a new, job, and I'm really happy with it. But I'm also I feel very happy about the fact that, it took me 3 years to finally find another job that really looked like a good fit for me. And I've found that this job really has, having a job is not a bad thing. There are good jobs and there are jobs that might not fit you so well. And the job that I've got right now, it allows me, it doesn't drain me. I don't feel drained at the end of the day. So therefore I have the energy left at the end of the day to spend time with my kids, and then, also do some my magic creative stuff that I want to do. So that's important. And I feel like, okay, well, that's like the answer to my prayers. I can, it does, it is a day job, and it takes a lot of my time, but it's also very good. It's a good fit for me. So, who knows what the plan is for the rest of my life, but for right now, I think we always have to look for right now. What's good for me right now? Yeah. And that's a good thing to do. Just say, okay, well, yes, I want this. Yes, I want that, but what's good for me right now? What do I need to do right now? And, anyway.
And there isn't one way to get to where you want. There's no one path.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, we're all getting there.
Yeah, that's right. So, oh boy. Well, I feel like I've squeezed as much out of Andrea as I can. I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with in parting?
There's one thing that just came to mind is that, if there's something that you want to do and, you aren't there yet and it's feeling kind of far away, just remember the magic of baby steps. Because it's like nobody got from one place to another in one leap. It's like a series of tiny steps, and each step is really important, even if it feels really small and insignificant. They all add up to each other, so you can always do a little baby step. And that's really the only way to get there. Sometimes it feels frustrating, it's so slow, but that slowness is the way that you build something, sustainable and strong. So you can do it, like, with whatever resources you have right now and whatever time and whatever idea. Like, if you start with that, it will grow into something if you just give it time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
Bless you and your work, and go on, yay! Keep moving forward, yay!
Yeah.
I'm an Andrea fan. If you couldn't tell by now.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy. This was really nice.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.